evening. I'll introduce the folks before you, although you probably know most of them. To my far right is Susan Ayer, our administrative assistant. Then Peter Bakey, a board member. Chuck Hart, another board member. I'm your chair, Ellie Alessio. To my left is Glenn Koppelman, our vice chair, and Laurie Schwett, another member of the board. We have a number of appointments this evening, the first of which is Mr. Ken Weiler on behalf of Gideon Lodge. Come on down, Ken. Please have a seat. Use one of these microphones to sit and just put the green light on and have it close to you towards the end of the table. You'll be all set. Is this new information, Ken?
So,
I'm going to give that. There's only one copy here. I'm just asking, is it only one copy?
okay, Ken? Give some echo.
Right.
Can you, is it pick me up?
We can hear you, yeah, we can hear you
Okay.
fine.
What I'm here about is the denial of property tax exemption for Gideon Lodge Masonic Hall. The letter said it was based upon the fact that Masonic halls are not automatically exempt, but that's not the reason why Gideon Hall is exempt. It is the action of a town meeting from 1992, which the minutes are there from 92 and 93. So 92 is what I brought before the town meeting to say we'd like a tax exemption by making our waterfront the town beach. And we will spend $1,000 a year in payment in lieu of taxes to provide for a lifeguard and a porta potty. And that was voted in, and the 93 things are there to show that it was in fact voted in. So the 92 is a proposal, the 93, the smaller one. For some reason, the 92 town report was 8.5 by 11. I got them all in a stack, can't find the 92. All the other ones are about 5 by 9. But that year, they decided to go 8.5 by 11. Anyway, I found a copy in the town library, and that's what I copied it from. And I also show you a map where in 2012, we finally completed the swap of the strip of land from what would have been the north side of the Masonic Hall to the south side of the Masonic Hall, which was in fact agreed to in 1944, but never recorded. So we had quite a search in 2012 to find that actual space, which is all overgrown since it's like 2 tree lines involved in it now. But my point is, the Gideon Lodge has tried to cooperate with the town and has asked for an exemption of property tax. So and I couldn't find the letter and I couldn't find the thing, but I think Glenn thought maybe there'd be a check written to the Gideon Lodge, but I don't remember the year. So 1992, we have an agreement, we'll have to pay $1,000 a year in payment in lieu of taxes. And that was supposed to pay for a porta potty and a lifeguard. Those things were never employed. So after a period of years, I was informed that Sumner Kalman was reviewing the exemptions for the town, for the selectmen. And he said, what's this one? They said, well, they're supposed to pay us $1,000 a year and blah, blah, blah. And he said, well, they're either exempt or they're not exempt. All right, we'll make them exempt. And they sent me a letter to that effect. And as the treasurer, I had paid the taxes for that year, which I cannot now remember, somewhere around 97, 98, even as late as 2001. They sent me a letter saying, okay, you're tax exempt, here's your $1,000 back, you don't need to pay that anymore. So my point is, it took an action of the town meeting to make us tax exempt. It's not a decision that can be made by Board of Selectmen. It was a decision made by the town meeting. And that's what we've stuck with all these years. The decision that was made by the selectmen, which I hope you can find in the records, was that you don't have to pay the $1,000 anymore, because obviously they're not a porta potty or a lifeguard. So my point is, for a reviewer just to look narrowly at, oh, wait a minute, you're Masons, you're not automatically exempt, you're not exempt. That doesn't take into account the fact that we already had on the record in a town meeting, we are exempt. So that's what I'm coming before you for acceptance of that accomplishment in 1992.
Well, it might very well be that the assessor didn't have the information. And I'm certainly not disputing Article 14 from 1992. I mean, that's pretty clear.
Yeah.
What it does say, however, that it'll be $1,000 annually, and that it can be increased at intervals for inflation as agreed to by the Select Board and the Gideon Lodge. What we don't have, and it's the conversation that I had with you when you called me, was that you haven't provided us, and I don't know that we have in our hands, that extra piece of information that
Exempted the 1,000.
that took that 1,000 back and said, no, you don't owe that either. I mean, what I'm seeing is from 1992, and I that's fine, but I don't see that other piece that removes that.
Is it possible that it's in the town records? I couldn't find it in the Masonic records. And I don't have access to search the town records. Could I go to who would I go to search the town records?
Well, we'd have to look in the property file to see if it's in there. Did you look in the property file to see if it was in there? That's access to.
I was not shown the property tax file.
Well, all you have to do is come and ask for it or go online, Ken. It's not a secret.
It's all online. The property files, they've all been digitized now. So you can actually go on into your property card, and anything that was in the file is now digitized and you have access to it.
Would that be able to show the last year I paid the $1,000?
I don't know. I have no idea what's in there, Ken.
But this is something I'd have to do online?
No, you go downstairs and see Tori, and she'll bring it out on the computer so you can take a look at what's in the property file. But the point is that we don't have, even if, I mean, I don't have a problem. All right, if the town decided in 1992 that we should exempt you, and I was probably the moderator at that time. Yep, I did. Yep, that's exactly what I'm looking at.
Yeah, that's the town report from 93, but I believe it was the vote from 92 where it took place.
Correct.
The other page shows the reflection. So the smaller page is from 1993, which says it was passed.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
In other words, in the following year's annual report, it showed the action of the previous year's town meeting. And we're not here to give you a hard time, but, on the face of it, the Gideon Lodge was not the only organization in town that received a letter stating that, we were questioning.
I'm not the only one, what?
That whose tax exempt status was being questioned.
Yeah.
Because if the appropriate paperwork wasn't in the file, we have new auditors this year. They're just doing their job to make sure everyone's on board to where they should be. And we have granted one refund so far because the organization, we know it's a nonprofit, it was the Kingston Improvement Historical Society, and there may be others as we move forward. But this one's a little bit different, and in lieu of, we'd have to see something that there was no payment at all.
Well, you can look at the history, and if I had access to the history, I would look back for the last year that I paid the $1,000 and look at the selectmen's minutes from that. I thought maybe that was something you had access to. I didn't.
I have tried to look through the past minutes to search for that. I can do more research. I didn't find it yet. We can also check with the tax records. But if you had that letter where it said you don't need
Had a few secretaries since, and some of them were more thorough than others.
Right, so we can take a more thorough look if you want to come
All
into
right.
the office. We'll look
I was
through the
hoping we'd have a
property records.
decision tonight, but
No.
I thought maybe,
I don't
was
see how
hoping
we
you had
can.
something
I think it's too complicated. We do need to research the records. I think we have to contact town council as well.
well, do you want me to do it, or is Susan gonna do it?
I'll look further, and if you
think
want to
Susan
come in,
should.
we'll look through the property records together. I didn't find anything yet. I could have missed something.
All right, I'll come in tomorrow and
Okay.
give you some hints.
So can I have a question? So you mentioned that you were provided a letter releasing you from that $1,000. You don't have, you're not in possession of that letter anymore?
It didn't, I thought I gave it to whoever the secretary was at the time.
Right.
We've had several secretaries since, and I had one go back, and he's digitized a lot of the stuff.
Right.
But he didn't find the letter, and I couldn't tell him what year to look in.
Sure.
It was a period of years went by, and then I get this $1,000 check back.
Right.
And Glenn and I had the conversation. I couldn't remember whether it was the check I wrote or the check the town wrote.
I'm
to
not
say-
sure I would have ever given you that $1,000 back.
No, it was what we
Quite
do, you
honestly.
know, but I don't know why I didn't bother to, make a bigger record of it. I assumed the record would be at the town hall.
Okay, well, obviously, we need to do more work.
All right.
I think also that, we're not sure if the assessor actually saw that Article 14, the assessor to make, she's based the
Probably it's
opinion
not in
on,
the file. I hope
she-
it will be now.
she's basing her opinion on the 4 criteria that she's listed in her record
For nonprofit.
for nonprofit, not
Yeah.
seeing this. So obviously, Susan will show this to her
Yeah,
also and
and
get
I understood that, and I
a
should
better
have,
opinion for that.
I should either make a report with all the details that goes in that file, so that the next time anybody looks at it, they know the reason it's tax exempt. It isn't because we're Masons, it's because we've made a deal with the town, approved by the town report.
Okay,
The
so,
town,
I still, Ken, there's no issue with the fact that you, by town vote, that the lodge was issued a payment in lieu of taxes at the rate of $1,000 plus potentially some increase over the years for, inflation and so forth. I mean, that's clear. It was a town vote and it hasn't been rescinded. So the only question in my mind is whether or not that the obligation for that $1,000 has in fact been removed.
correct.
okay, I'll search for that. Thank you.
Yeah,
That- I mean,
it's
that is
not
the
over.
question.
The issue is not closed.
I understand.
Under more research, for sure.
I'm sorry that I thought somehow that you would know the town records better than I, and you would find it.
Well, quite honestly, I assume the lodge would have kept a record or something like that, just to make sure they kept their nonprofit status and didn't pay taxes. No offense.
I've been the treasurer a long time. I've kept a lot of records. But the
I'm sure.
secretary job has evolved and people have perhaps
We'll,
not.
we'll work this through one way or t'other.
So I'm
How's
hoping
that
there's
sound?
more than one copy, and I didn't file the copy. I assumed it was something for the secretary, so.
There may be some minutes from this prior select board meetings, I don't know. We need to organize a search of some of our records to get what we need.
So I'd offer those to go in the file,
Okay, I'll put them together with this.
and hopefully the next time someone questions it, they'll see why we think we have an exemption, and
Okay.
we've had an exemption since 1992. So I appreciate your effort. I'll try to come back with more detail. Thank you.
We'll be in touch, Ken. We'll let you know
Thank
what
you
we
for your
find.
attention.
Thank you for coming. Okay. Next item is Mike Ivis, Gerard Welch, Chris Smith, the over 55 development proposed for the Kingston Fairways property. It's continued from a prior meeting. Are they here? They're not here? Okay.
I didn't have anything more from them. It was just agreed they would come back because you hadn't really decided whether you would go forward with a special meeting or not. There was,
Well, didn't they want to come to hear us talk about it?
I thought they were going to.
So they didn't.
Well, it makes it
acknowledge
real easy.
So, do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I do want to talk about it.
All right.
yes.
Well, let's talk about it.
Okay, and for the folks out there, this group, developers, are proposing to purchase the Kingston Fairways it is not zoned for age-restricted development. It's zoned for development, but not age-restricted. So they had come before the select board about 4 weeks ago seeking a spot zoning ordinance change to make that available for age-restricted housing. We we wanted to go back to the planning board, see if they were interested in even temporarily approving it so that it could be on the warrant in March. And at the planning board, it was discussed that it was considered spot zoning, and that would be illegal, and it would take some time to look at perhaps other pieces of property in the community that may be also eligible for age-restricted zoning. But the planning board wasn't interested in pursuing that because it was obviously the one parcel was in favor of one particular developer, and that would have been unfair to any other developer. So Mr. Copeland was kind of have to look up some of the RSAs on special town meetings, because another option available to that particular developer is to get 50 residents of Kingston to sign a petition seeking a special town meeting for action to be taken on that issue. Now, it does not have to be on the ballot, but because they would have had at least 1 or 2 hearings, and zoning amendments are not amendable at town meeting. So we could have done a yes or no town meeting, like the old days that most people don't even know about, but that would have been another option. It still is another option. There is a timeline and so forth. Glenn, I know you had some more information on that.
Well, in my mind, it's pretty simple. The applicant or the potential developer, along with their engineer, had come to us asking if we would be, as the select board, interested in holding a special town meeting to consider the rezoning of that parcel to allow for the age-restricted development that they want to do. And my personal opinion is, I stated it then and I'll state it again now, that to rezone just that one parcel, I believe would be considered spot zoning, which really is not something that we should be doing, and it's not really a legal path. And so my position would be that we as a select board should not be holding a special town meeting or town vote for rezoning that parcel. There, as you explained, there are paths for the applicant to follow with regard to getting that rezoned, or perhaps getting a variance for it, or any number of options. But for us to hold a special town meeting for that, I don't think that's appropriate.
Further comments from my colleagues? Yeah, I agree with Glenn. I don't see us going forward with us seeking a special town meeting, because I think it is discriminatory, and I'm not in favor of doing that. That land can be developed, the houses can be built on it. They just can't be clustered as closely together, because it wouldn't be an age-restricted development. So if they're successful in going for a town meeting on their own, so be it. They have every right to do that, and as long as they meet the criteria, they can move forward. But I don't see us sponsoring a special town meeting.
So my question, Glenn, is more on the spot zoning, not understanding it. But let's say they get a petition and ask for the town meeting, or they wait in March and they go to town meeting, or they go to the ZBA. I mean, they have the option. But let's say it gets approved to say, okay, yes, you can do the over 55 in there. How does the spot zoning thus affect that? That's not relevant anymore if it's voted on at town meeting?
Oh, yeah, no. You want to take that one?
Well,
I don't know.
That's a good question.
if it goes to the town vote and the town votes it, then I believe it would be up to someone to challenge it
Correct.
legally through litigation.
Against the town.
Right. And if nobody wanted to do that, then it could possibly move forward by vote of the town, and, be it spot zoning or not.
Because even if it goes to town meeting, it's still spot zoning,
Right.
even if the town approves
Right,
it.
because one parcel, because
Right.
it's not zoned now for age-restricted housing.
Right.
And if we make an exception on that one lot without giving other lots that same option, it is spot zoning.
Okay.
So, and it would be. And I was remiss earlier that I did not introduce our favorite building inspector, code enforcement officer, Pedro Avila, who's sitting at the end of the table here. And I apologize to you, Pedro, I did not mean to. I was thinking you were in the audience. It's, that cataract surgery's coming soon, I promise.
He's still sitting in the dunk tank.
And Pedro's here, even though he spent an hour and a half or so in the dunk tank on the Saturday, so.
Did you want to weigh in on this?
No, actually,
No, okay.
I heard it, and when it was brought to the board, Glenn was right on point. Spot zoning is a very, very delicate subject, and you guys have it, so there is nothing I can weigh more on that.
All right, thank you. Glenn, anything else?
Do you want this by motion, just so we have it on record?
I would like to have a motion, yes.
All right. Then for the purposes of getting it out for discussion, I'll make a motion that the select board take a position of not supporting a special town meeting for the rezoning of, I don't have the parcel,
The Kingston Fairways property.
the old Kingston Fairways property.
Yeah.
Second.
Okay, further discussion? All those in favor of denying the request, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Okay,
You'll send them a note, Susan, letting them know where
okay,
we stand on
yep,
that, and then
thank
the
you.
ball's in their court at this point.
Okay, public comment number one, who would like to come forward? Oh, yeah, we have bid openings too, right? Yep. We can do that first.
We should do that.
Yep. These are proposals for the point of entry treatment systems on the wells contaminated by the PFAS from the fire station.
We received 3 bids,
Three.
which you can open. I think there's some representatives from Verdontis here, if I'm not mistaken. There you are.
Want to take one? So you have one from Allied Clearwater, is that what you have, Glenn?
Mine is from Allied Clearwater, yes, signed by Aaron Johnston, Vice President.
And yours, Chuck, is from,
Second Wind Water Systems out of Manchester, I believe. No, it's not Second. Seconia Wind out of Manchester.
No, it should be Second Wind.
sits in the water. And Peter, whom do you have?
I have the Water Techs Incorporated, and I apologize, I'm just skimming through here because...
Peter, your mic, please, thanks.
Excuse me, I have the Water Techs, and I was just skimming through to get an address, and they are... Still not seeing where they're from. No. Oh, I apologize, they're in Hampshire. Okay. They're in Hampshire.
So all of these, I know that the one I'm looking at has used the spreadsheet or the cost table, pricing table that was provided by our consultant Verdontis.
Okay.
And yours is as well, Chuck?
Yeah.
And Peter, is yours?
Yes.
Did they use the same sheets?
Yes.
Okay. So on the last sheet, it's broken down into sections, and then on the last one, it says total cost of all required bid items, sections 1 through 4. So we should probably read into the record what those total numbers are.
Got it?
Where do you go first?
Oh,
Yeah, you go first.
I'll go.
Yep.
So the bid from Allied Clearwater is $190,345. So 190,345.
And you, Chuck?
Well, section 2 total cost, which is
Your
96.
microphone.
No.
You have your
Nope.
microphone.
They don't have a total, so I don't know. That's what they have. They have 96 and then 650.
This is the only sheet with pricing on it?
That I can see. But then again, you say I can't see, so.
Well, what they have 3 sections, 1, 2, well, actually, the Allied Clearwater had sections 1 through 4.
Hang on, Glenn, he's got it right there.
Another sheet.
All right.
Section 4 total cost?
No, sections 1 through 4 total cost.
It says section 4. Section 1 total cost, $4,600, I don't think so.
No.
There's no total that I can see. First total, so then
This is section, no, sections 1 through 4. They didn't total it all
so
up.
we'd have to
Okay.
total it all.
So we have to total it.
That's the one I was looking at, is the last one.
So-
Then they got 630.
So we need to add this one, and this one to get a total.
Let's go, boys and girls.
All right, when you're saying that, I'm gonna double check the map.
Okay.
So this is for second wind?
Yes.
Okay. So section 1 is $4,650. Section 2, $96,500. Section 3, $630.
$630?
And section 4, $94,820.
I have
These,
196,600.
yeah.
That's what I get.
Okay. So that's $196,600.
Okay.
And Peter?
Well, if these calculations add up, they're about 100 grand shy. 99,685.
This is for the water tax, right?
This is total of all required bid items, sections 1 through 4, 99,685.
Okay.
All right.
That's what it says. I was
Okay.
just trying to do the math real quick, but I didn't get it all done, but that's what it's
Well,
like.
do you want to do what we did with second wind and go through the 4 sections and
Yeah.
do the math?
That's fine.
Okay, let's do that.
So, excuse me, the first one, section 1 total, $2,100. Section 2 total, $75,580. Section 3 total, $255. Section 4 total, $21,750.
That's exactly what I get too.
That's what I got.
Okay. All right.
All right, so we've got 3 bids, which is good. But the next step is, for us, is to have our consultant for dentists take all 3 bids and do a compare and contrast and put it all in one, into a summary table for us.
Right.
So that we can review it and do an evaluation. And as soon as they can get that done, then we should be in a
award the
position to pick a vendor.
To award the bid.
What were
Right.
the other 2 bids again?
The first one was 198,000, the second one was 196,000. That's why this one at 99,000 seems low.
No, I'm missing something.
They're missing something, I think, but we don't know that.
Well,
Let them-
that'll come out hopefully
When the review.
when
That's
Verdantis
right.
does the comparison.
Right.
So I'll make a motion to take these bids under advisement and provide them to our consultant to analyze them and provide us with consolidated information as soon as possible.
Okay, in a second? Second. Thank you. Further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Unanimous approval to send to the consultant.
Now, ordinarily, I like to keep a copy and send one to them or email one to them. Is it okay to wait till morning and I'll scan them to you? Okay.
Okay, we, hold on a minute. Okay, so you're all set to go forward with these?
Yeah, I
We have
just
public
need to-
comment now would be appropriate. Dan, if you'd like to come forward with a question. It's time for public comment. Come on down.
Assuming the guy in the shirt that answered
Dan
the
Doyle,
question.
156 Main Street.
We can, I'm sorry.
Dan Doyle,
Yeah.
156 Main Street. Tom. Yeah, no one can hear you in here, so.
Well,
So are all three of those bids based on the same type of filtration system as far as what type of medium they're
Yes.
using to filter those?
they should be, Dan. They were given the same specs, all three. So now what's going to happen, Verduntis will take a look and make sure that they have bid on exactly what they're supposed to get done,
Okay,
okay?
because I
And then-
believe when I read it before, there was some choices in there that could be made as far as what type of media could be used in that filtration system. So I didn't know if we were comparing apples to apples here or apples to oranges.
We will be comparing apples and apples, I believe. Right, that's
Well,
why we
that's-
have someone to review it.
Well, that's why the consultant is going to review them, to make sure that they are apples-to-apples comparison. And it was my understanding that the bids were all spec'd out at the same process, if you will, so that the responses should be comparable.
Comparable, absolutely.
And per DES rules, do you have to go by the lowest bidder?
No.
No.
Okay,
Because we don't know yet what variances might be in there,
right.
correct?
I didn't know if there was something written in that,
don't think
in
we
that
do.
grant.
I don't think so, Dan. I
The
don't think
lowest
so.
responsible bidder, I think, but
Yes.
you have
Right.
some leeway.
I believe the only way we couldn't take, if the reputation was not good or references weren't good, that would be a reason to deny a bid. Let's put it that way. But if everything else being equal, then we would go with the lowest price.
Okay, and will those documents be made public soon?
At some point, yeah. I don't know how,
Well, we wouldn't be making them public, I don't think, until,
what bid was awarded, once the results are back.
Results from who?
From the consultant that'll give a recommendation, he's gonna do a spreadsheet on what's where, and then we're gonna look at that and say, okay, which one do we go with? I'm assuming Redundas will give us a recommendation, which gives us the best value for our dollar and
So you're
meets the
saying at
needs.
this point, though, these three bids are not public information?
That's what I'm gathering.
I think that's correct, but I don't think that's correct, but I'll check out.
Okay, well, let us know. Yes, sir.
There's proprietary information in there, so I don't know how that could be public information at this point.
And I agree with you. Have a seat. Welcome, be comfortable. State your name for the record, please.
James Lake, 158 Main Street, across the street.
Yeah,
I've been in commercial contracting and contracts my whole life. Is there any consideration for the expert? When it looked to me like, as you guys were reading the numbers, two of the bids were very close.
correct.
And this bid's 50% less. Does the analyst, the expert, ask them how they could possibly be 50% less than two other bona fide companies? I think that's cause for concern. That's all I wanted to
I
say.
totally agree with you. We're all concerned not because it's 100,000 less.
Right.
Very honestly, we don't know whether they missed something, and that's why you have someone else review it
Okay,
for us.
very good.
So,
Thank you.
yeah, that could very well be the case, that it's, the cheapest is not necessarily the best way to go.
yeah, and once the consultant reviews it, it might be determined that there was a whole bunch of stuff missed by that particular vendor, and which is why the price is so much different. So, but when we get that feedback from our consultant, then we'll be better able to answer that question.
Well,
It-
we'll
it-
report it out here.
It'll be done at our meeting, as soon as it's available.
Yeah. What's that? Oh, I don't know. Any other public comment at this time? Okay, then we're gonna go on to committee liaison reports. Peter?
I have nothing from the police department. They were pretty much well involved over here with our Fire Fest across the street. I did have a chance to speak with Joel. Things in town seem to be going status quo. I have talked to Pedro in the building department. Still seems like we have a little bit of a glitch with our contractors in town getting used to the new requirements to work in this town.
You mean the new sheriff in town?
Yeah, so long story short is, you need a permit to work in this town, period. Dropping off an application and a check doesn't mean you can go to work. It has to be reviewed, there's a period of time, when the permit is issued, time to go to work. So, he's got a couple of contractors that I'm familiar with that, they've done it, repeat offenders, and they were given a fine. They need a permit to do work in the town of Kingston, period. And I think he's doing a great job. He's got his hands full. He's got a lot of stuff happening, a lot of applications. They just have to be a little patient and realize now that things have changed. So to work in the town, you do need a permit. But I think he's doing a great job. He does have his hands full. So my hat's off to Pedro.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Questions, Mr. Hart?
Not too much. Conservation, I don't have anything on. Budget Committee, I believe, is meeting. Conservation, I don't have anything on. The Budget Committee, I believe, is meeting on July 24th for their next meeting. Stacy, right? And again, to review year-to-date at this point and to prepare for what's coming on, because October is coming and the meetings will be starting soon. Other than that, Tammy's going to be coming up and talking about the new voting machines. Oh, she's up here to talk about the new voting machines. Fire Department, I talked to Graham this afternoon, and obviously they don't have any idea yet as to what, if anything, the money they made on it, because they're still trying to tally it all, and the carnival money doesn't come in for a while. So I'm sure he'll be in at the department head meeting to tell us exactly, how they made out with it. He was not disappointed, even though the weather was not good, but he seemed to be happy with the results at this point. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Glenn? I didn't have anything yet. Sorry.
No, that's fine. I was just at the Heritage Commission meeting, and of course, I didn't bring any notes with me, Ernie. Was there anything that you would like me to highlight of what happened at the meeting?
I don't think there was anything significant.
I mean, they have a significant list of projects that they're working on, not the least of which is the preparation for the celebration of the Plain Cemetery and the training of individuals for cleaning and repairing some of the stones, and so a lot of that work continues, as well as many other things. So it's a very active group, and Ernie's doing a landmark job as usual. The only other thing I want to report is that we can check one thing off of our list of projects for the year, and that is that on Saturday during the Summerfest, we dedicated the memorial tree for Joe Thompson. It was well attended. Family was there. We had good representation from the board, and the weather held out. It didn't rain, but there was a power outage. So for the celebration of the town's electrical inspector, at that former electrical inspector, that was probably him telling us.
He was laughing his head off.
He was laughing his head off at us. So.
No question.
Anyway, it was a nice event. It's nice to have that done, and I think that I think the family was appreciative
Yeah.
of it, so.
Including the nest of baby bunnies by the tree.
Yeah, right
By
at the
the mulch.
right at the base of the tree, there
Yeah.
was a nest of little bunnies that were just waiting for mom to come back and
Feed them.
wishing that we would be out of there real fast. Okay, that's it.
Thank you. Laurie?
So the last museum committee meeting, we have one tomorrow. We talked about a lot of things, but they're gonna finalize when they're gonna do the Boston Cane, when they're gonna present to the board, like the criteria and what their plan is. So we'll discuss that again tomorrow, so hopefully they'll have a plan in place soon. We briefly talked about, Glenn had brought it up, this green space out front and kind of using it as a, the memorial garden. And so we have a lot of conversations that we need to have with the Heritage Commission and just throwing ideas about what to use this space for out here. They have their flea market and car show on August 12th, and that's going to be held over at the high school.
August 12th or 3rd?
I'm sorry. What?
August
I'm
3rd?
sorry, August 3rd, from 8 to 12. I wrote 8 to 12, that's what it was. And then the museum from 2 to 6 in the afternoon. So for the Solid Waste and Recycling Committee, I'm not sure if we have that letter. We have a person who's actually been on and volunteering for months, and she just was never formally appointed. Dawn McCarthy, she's been working, so we need to,
Yeah, I didn't get a formal letter. I was gonna make up the appointment form, and I did not, so I'll
Okay.
make sure that's done, and you can come by and
Okay,
sign
all
it.
right, so then that will be next meeting,
Okay.
that we'll
Yeah.
get that done? Yeah. If you haven't heard, on July 20th, we're having a bulky goods day at the collection center. Each resident can bring up to 3 items, and there's a whole list of things that you can't bring, because it's not for hazardous waste or white goods, meaning, like appliances. I mean, you can bring mattresses, furniture. There's a small fee for the items, and then the committee's looking to probably do a presentation to the select board in October for the previous year and the status of it and how well the collection center has been doing. And then there's other events that we're hosting throughout the summer, hopefully to bring more people to the collection center. And then we'll be talking about the Grace Daily Barn here shortly and the volunteer forms. Oh, and one last thing. So Marissa Frederico, the Human Services Director, set up a meeting called Caring for Kingston. It's going to be a quarterly meeting, and it's with the library, rec, human services, and then all of the community services like Red Cross and Waypoint, people that we pay money to every year to provide services to us. She's setting up a quarterly meeting to talk about how we can better work together and figure out what Kingston needs, other than just, it's the Red Cross and they, come for a fire, but, what are the services that we need? So that's an initiative by Marissa, and they held their first one on June 17th. Things on the agenda, transportation that we've been talking about, and just, Meals on Wheels, just kind of things for the community.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Where are they setting it up at the high school?
Where's
No,
who?
what-
The flea market?
Yeah, where's it gonna be?
In the parking lot.
In the parking lot? Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. Sure, Glenn.
Just a quick follow-up. I looked in the audience and I saw Phil, and I thought I forgot to thank him and his group for making that tree presentable. I mean, they planted the tree initially, but they also then set the stone that we had ordered and got it dressed up with bark mulch and so forth to make it look nice for the dedication. So thank you for that.
Nice job, Phil, on the planting of the rabbits, too. That was a nice touch.
I wonder if Buttercup likes them. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. We're all set with committee liaison reports. Let's go on to old business. First item is tax deed waiver. Tammy, did you want to, this is for Hawks Ridge, are we all set there? They paid. Beautiful, okay, excellent. Item 2, volunteer forms. We have some information from Primex, and I believe Paula wanted to address the board on that.
So we're gonna sign that in that, this tax here, it says it's sign it, right? For them, just so they know they're here.
I asked Tammy if we needed to sign the waiver now that it's paid, and she said because it was paid and there's no deed to be waived, so I have a form, but she said we don't need to do that.
Okay.
Who's that?
Yeah, I would have gone through the folder anyway, so we would have known it at that time. So we're all set with that one. Paula, do you want to update us on what Primex said?
So that, it's about the Grace Daily Barn, so can I preface the whole thing about the volunteer form? Because it's more than just the volunteer form.
So what's your, I don't understand what you want to do. You want to talk about the Grace Daily Farm before we get to
And the reason, the reason we need the volunteer forms for the Grace Daily Barn, it's all tied together, so.
Okay, all right. You want to start the parade then?
Yes, I would like to start the parade.
Okay.
So the contractor finished the work that we contracted him for on the Grace Daily Barn, and there's work that's left to be done. And we had some residents who have volunteered to provide that service. So I asked Paula to find out from Primex what was needed for those volunteers. And that's the volunteer form, that's the information that we have right here. Oh, got it, okay. Yep. Okay. So what Paula provided to us was from Primex. So I think we as a board need to figure out what the scope of work is that the volunteers are going to be doing on the Grace Daily Barn, because there's work that needs to be done that, you know, there's a risk and a liability, so we need to figure what our tolerance is for that. And then also just have a discussion about the information that Primex provided to us that we have right here. So that's the preface to that. So I think Phil can probably step up and speak to what needs to be done, and then Dan's here because he's also willing to help volunteer, but we need to figure out what that looks like.
So I'm getting the issue with volunteers work on town buildings, and what liability and risk are we willing to tolerate to have that done by volunteers?
Yep.
Am I correct on the,
I would be the wrong person to talk to about that.
Yes,
the
yes,
answer is yes?
yes.
Okay.
Gladly.
Because Primex requested a scope of work. So we're trying to nail that down, so then they can say, okay, this is what you're doing, and okay, this is the liability attached to that.
So we could probably get that information from Paula, because it sounds like she's talked to them.
What, she doesn't know the scope of work.
She won't know the work, right, but she knows what Primex wants.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I spoke with Ernie today, and what we're going to do is sit down with the volunteers and just walk through the project and make sure that we've identified exactly the work that needs to be done. So there will be a complete scope of work, and from that we'll generate a materials list, which will be ordered through the Public Works Department, and kind of a plan for scheduling, as in, it won't just be one person who has 2 hours to kill going out there and start taking the project apart. It will be scheduled events where there will be multiple people there. No one will be working alone, but the crux of the work is the siding on the barn. So just the sheathing and the clapboards being replaced, and any trim pieces that need to be done at that time. The final part, or the other part, will be the large doors on the barn will have to be rebuilt and replaced. So those are kind of the highlights of it. Again, this is, the structural integrity of the building has been completed from the contractor. The roof is all set, so we have plenty of time to get this done, but this will be the guiding document that kind of drives our volunteers on what they're doing there, and will allow the insurance company to be aware of what's gonna be done.
Okay, so you would meet with the committee and volunteers, make a list of what needs to be done, and a schedule of timing to have that done. Who's going to work on it and when?
Yes.
That's correct? Okay. Anything else to add to that?
So I think I really want to stress, and Paula can come up here and also talk about that, but whoever works on that is going to be required to sign a volunteer form. So, come on up. We've had multiple discussions about the volunteer forms at many meetings.
The form we have is the form that they would need to fill out.
Okay, that's the one we've been using, Paula?
Yes,
Yeah,
we've been
okay.
using it, and then I checked with Primex to make sure it was updated, it's the right updated form, and it is.
Okay.
What they did say, and then they gave me more information late this afternoon, is they said, because I did have some scope of work that I was given, that I told Primex about, which was the clapboards and stuff, and they said that our insurance involving faculty repairs and upgrades, if there's property damage at a later date caused by volunteer work, it would likely be excluded from our town coverage. And then this afternoon, they said to me that they thought about it over the weekend, I guess, I don't know. And they apologized because I said I needed the answer from last week. They said, is that an older building may have lead paint on the clapboards. They should test paint first before removing clapboards. They may need special process, and it could perhaps require special training, making it a project that volunteers cannot do.
Yeah, lead paint presents a whole nother issue. And having gone through that, and it's a piece of property I am, yep, it's outrageously expensive, and you need hazmats. So you need to, until you get the scope of the work and what you're gonna do,
So we can get a lead test kit done this week
okay.
and get that shipped out and verify that. I do know there was a fairly substantial rehabilitation project there in the late 70s, which would be after the timeline of lead paint, but, and I would say based on the siding, just given the length of the clapboards, that they're not the smaller ones that you would see on older buildings, we're probably safe in that, but definitely we will test to make sure that nobody's put at risk.
For our sake, I hope there is absolutely no lead at all, because it also seeps into the ground. It really is very invasive. Well, you know, I don't need to tell you that. Okay. Pedro?
Yes, just to interject on the matter, has the town also thought about any kind of waivers that might be needed on the end of the contractor? So for the work being done, or things that we are unaware of existent on that structure in the event of an injury and things like that of that nature, so that it doesn't represent a liability for the town, other than the volunteering application. So that's just my comment. So a waiver, some sort of waiver
For the volunteers or the contractors?
for the volunteers that are gonna be
Well, that's
working.
what the form is that we're talking about.
It's a waiver, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, that they have to sign.
All right.
Yeah.
Liability issues are pervasive, and we'll never get away from them totally, so.
Yeah, my concern, not so much for the work that's being the Grace Daily, but a volunteer in general. If they're gonna be signing some particular form and it's got all of these insurance covers we can't get volunteers now. And if I'm gonna be a volunteer for the museum, excluding that, am I gonna put myself through that to sign and sign my life away just to be a volunteer? We haven't had, major issues in the past. I just hate to see it get overly complicated with, paragraphs in there about liability and suits and all that stuff. I mean, get the general information for a volunteer like we've been doing them and have them sign that they're a volunteer. But if we're gonna
This
go.
waiver is per our insurance company, but they are covered under our insurance as long as if they didn't do something to create their accident. So, I don't know, they put a ladder under a shelf and then climbed up the ladder, banged their head and fell backwards. That's,
They're not gonna be unsupervised.
right.
Anyway,
So
so that's
if,
not a
or they spilled water and then they went and walked on it and they knew they spilled the water, that's their own fault.
Yeah.
That's something that wouldn't be covered. But regular work, they're still covered under our insurance, and it says that on our waiver form.
I
And I
think we're
think the
good.
issue has been is if you're on a committee and you're a sworn member of a committee, you're covered under the insurance.
Yes.
But if it's someone who is not under a committee, this is the piece of paper that
That we
gives them
need.
our protection.
Appointed, elected, and appointed and elected officials don't have to sign it, and employees don't have to.
Okay. So I think we're good moving forward. Okay. Great, thank you very much. Okay, next item under unfinished business is the administrative abatement for Major Sanborn Seminary, and that's in our folder.
That's in there to be signed, that's per your decision to revert them to their 500,000 assessed value.
Okay, Glenn, would you just quickly speak to, you had met with Mr. Chinberg and what transpired on that?
Well, not with Mr. Chinberg, but Mr. Chinberg was
Representative.
before us at our last meeting, and at that time, we voted to abate the assessment, or to set the assessment, I'm sorry, at $500,000 from now through the time that the 79E
Kicks in.
is in effect. And the additional thing that we asked for that we needed done was to get the covenant done. And so that is the legal document that states the amount of tax relief period and the conditions under which he needs to act to make sure that that stays in place for his project. And it has dates attached to it and so forth. And that document then is signed by the developer and by the chair of the select board, and it gets recorded at the Rockingham County Registry of Deeds. And so we asked for that at our last meeting. The developer agreed to do it, and very shortly after our meeting, he had a draft copy to our town planner, and our town planner got those of us on the 79E review committee together very quickly. Ernie was there, the chair of the Historic District Commission was there, I was there. Anybody else, Ernie? And Glenn Greenwood, our town planner. We reviewed the draft that the developer provided to us. Most of it was very adequate. From our review, we made a couple of comments and had a couple of questions that will go back, I believe, to the developer, and then we need to get a final review by town council, and once that's all set, then it'll be ready for signing. So the setting of the assessment, I believe that document is in our file for signing tonight.
Yeah, it's in here.
And then sometime in the very near future, we should be seeing that covenant for us to review and for the chair to sign.
Yeah, I believe Glenn Greenwood told me today that he sent it to the attorney, and then he'll send it to
Okay,
Chinberg
so council first and then to,
for any further comments from them.
okay, great.
Excellent. Okay, any other questions? Okay, moving right along. New business, ballot machine purchase, Miss Tammy Bakey, Mrs. Bakey, our favorite town clerk, tax collector.
Oh, yes.
Yes, dear.
Tell me she didn't.
Of course she did. It's all one.
Oh, it's all right. Okay. Tammy, you have the floor.
So Glenn kind of ruined my surprise, but the Ballot Law Commission has generously decided to give out $3,500 for each machine that we do have to be replaced by the new machine. So right now we have 2 machines, so they'll give us $3,500 towards the purchase of the replacement machine. Each. So they'll give us $7,000, which is basically the cost of one machine. Right now, I have $14,000 in my budget for that purchase. I don't want to purchase the machines till next year. I want to go through the next 2 elections with the old machines. They're fine, they work fine. I would like another town to try out this machine, make sure there's no issues, no bugs.
We can encumber that money as we
We
get.
can encumber that
okay,
money,
because we
correct.
have 2 more elections.
Right. Now, they will also, you can either put that $3,500 towards the new tabulator or towards the purchase of poll books.
Of what?
Poll books. So poll books are, you come in and you put your license in the machine, it reads it, and it checks you off the checklist. They are a lot more accurate, so if there's 2 Bob Browns, it's gonna pick the Bob Brown that's standing there in front of you, they're a lot more accurate than humans. I showed you an example on the last page. There's an example of they print out little tickets, and that ticket is what you go to get the correct
Ballot.
Also, at the end of the night, it will print out a report that says, if you look at this page, we have to hand count. If someone comes in as Republican, they voted Republican, or absentee, they voted how they voted. If they're undeclared, what they voted, how they voted, Democrat, Republican, and it's very complicated. And then we have to tally all those numbers. The machine will do all that for us. The only problem with this is that the machine hasn't been fully okayed by the Secretary of, well, not by the legislature.
Ballot Law Commission or whatever,
Right.
yeah.
So you can use them right now, but you still have to check off mark a checklist in the background. But it will be eventually okay, and then you can just use that. You just use the poll books.
How long is eventually?
Well, I know there's a lot of towns that have already bought these poll books. We actually had a demonstration. Stacy was there. I had the company come out and show us how they work, so that we can get a feel for them, and if we like them. They're just so much more accurate than humans.
Oh, wow.
The end of the night tallying should be a lot quicker. So my question is, do we leave the 14,000 that are earmarked for the tabulators and use this money to purchase poll books?
Well, we don't
have to decide. We can decide till 2026.
For the $3,500 from the state?
Yep. But I just want to kind of.
Are you sure we shouldn't get that now up front before they change their minds?
I'm thinking the beginning of next year, and hopefully, I was talking to the Secretary of State, and he said that what they think is going to happen is the poll books will be approved federally, and then it won't matter. New Hampshire won't have to do anything. They're going to think that they're going to be approved federally.
And when does he think that's going to happen?
He didn't want to say.
So the poll pads are $14,000 also, is that what you're trying to say?
No. The poll pads are $12,075 each. I'm sorry, $1,275 each.
Oh, $1,200 each.
$1,200 each. Now, I called the Secretary of State's office today, and I emailed them. I have not got an answer to find out how many we can get. The one other thing about a poll book is you can go the same line as you. You don't have to divide it by alphabet.
Right.
So that will make it quicker. So I'm going to get that answer, but I kind of just wanted to give you guys an idea of what's going on in my vision.
Well, I think we have to budget for them, for sure. We might need 5 or 6 of them at least, right?
I guess I actually called Exeter, because I know they use them, to find out how many they have in service right now, to try and get a feel for how many we should order. So, but I don't know if they're going to limit that amount.
So they do both ways in Exeter?
I'm sorry?
They tabulate results both manually and through the poll pads?
No, they use the machine to tabulate the results, but they have to, at the same time, when they get these little tickets, they go to get their ballot.
Yep.
And then someone takes those tickets and goes over and manually marks the checklist.
Oh, I see.
Because the checklist is still what the
Right,
Secretary of
they
State
use the
wants.
slips out of the poll pads in order to mark up the register?
Correct.
Okay. All right, well, we'll just await your suggestion.
I'll just want to keep you in the loop, and
So the $3,500 per machine to replace the vote,
yep,
that money is separate from, or maybe it's not separate from, the possible purchase of the poll pads.
either or.
It's either or.
Yeah,
Okay.
or either you put the money towards the tabulators
So-
or put the money towards the poll book.
So if we were only to get, let's say, 4 poll pads at $1,200 each, that's not going to use up the full 7,000. Oh, it might.
7,000.
Yeah,
Correct.
okay.
If it's $1,250,
Never mind.
yeah,
Never
it's
mind.
$5,000.
Never mind.
It's all right, we can budget accordingly.
Okay.
So I can say, when I worked the polls in Maryland, they had the poll books.
Oh,
Oh, my goodness. It is so efficient, so quick. They're not online, like
Right.
they close, like the supervisor checklist, you close it off and they download the data. It's not connected to the internet. And that's why anybody can use it. It's so efficient. It just makes it quick. The end of the night is a piece of cake. It's fabulous.
Hopefully, it's not Wi-Fi enabled or anything
Oh,
like
no,
that.
they wouldn't be yet, none of that.
Okay, that's good.
So, and if you,
Because we're going to get
It's a
that
closed
question.
network. It's a closed network. They don't allow that, yeah.
if you'd like me to set up at some point a demonstration, I'd be glad to do that. They're very good about that. And the one good thing is the people that make the poll book are the same people that make the tabulators, so hopefully sometime they'll talk to each other in the future, thinking, but we'll see.
Okay, sounds like a plan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Wise guy. Oh, my goodness. Okay, item next. We have a revised agreement with Verdantis based on unexpected number of DES reviews. So we've got that to be signed, correct, Susan?
In the orange folder,
Yes.
it's just a little bit of an increase. I know they did reduce some of their billing because they knew they were going over, but they did have a lot of extra work with all that back and forth, so.
Okay. I'll take a look at that when we get to there. We have an inspection station application for 48 Church Street.
That was something they usually go to the planning board for
Right.
them to check it off. They are not going to meet till July 18th. This is just a new owner of an existing inspection station, so Glenn wrote a memo, hoping you're comfortable with signing it.
Right, I took a look at that, and it is a pre-existing, non-conforming use, and as Glenn Greenwood mentioned in his memo, the site is not authorized for auto repair, for auto sales, but what's before us is a application for an inspection license, and they were an inspection station, so I would make a motion that we sign that and authorize that.
Is a second? Second. Did you need to weigh in on this at all, Pedro?
Oh, no, actually, I just issue a denial for them for that, trying to change the sign. I explained them the same situation. They were legal non-conforming, so they cannot change. They can change the signage message to pertaining to the logo and the company information, but they cannot resize it in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah,
They
but
wanted to. It does not pertain to
It has
that.
nothing
so
to do with this
yeah.
URL.
So there is nothing.
This is just to get them,
They have- issue
Yeah,
the-
and I believe also they were, like you said, they were previously an inspection station
right.
in there.
Okay.
Yeah, if they were coming to us looking for a vehicle sales license, that would be a different story, because that's not part of the non-conforming use.
Okay. So is it seconded, Peter? Oh, Chuck did, okay. Further discussion on that? All those in favor of approving the request, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Okay. Next,
There are things that need to be filled out on that form. If you want me to work on that, I can, when we get to it.
on the
application, there are pieces that we have to check off and so forth.
inspection station? Okay, I'll give you that there. Okay, we have a request from Human Services to participate on the board of the Big Geary Center. There's a memo in your pile from Marissa, excuse me.
She just wanted to make sure there was no conflict because we give them money. But I believe someone in the past, a past human services director was on that board, but.
Well, we've only had two,
Yeah. I think
Mike
it was
Priori and
before-
Ellen Faulkner.
I think it was the person before Ellen, but.
That's Mike Priori.
Oh, okay, so, and I don't have that, I forget who even told me that, but that was what, that was mentioned, but that's her concern, is that because the town gives them money, should she be on the board?
I don't see a problem.
Any conflict, there. It'd be nice to have a body there, for sure, and, money-wise, we donate to them, but that doesn't affect her at all. She has no influence on that at all, so.
I suspect that if we were to look at the composition of their board, there are probably a number of other, maybe communities that also contribute to them.
There are, and we found through part of this Marissa's outreach was that we're the only town who doesn't have a rep at the Vic Geary Center. Oddly so we wanted to rectify that.
Is it pertaining to this?
It is. It's pertaining to if we do give money to the Vic Geary, it is in Marissa's budget that she presents to the budget committee, which putting her on the board would then be a slight conflict, because she's asking money she's asking money from the budget committee for the town on a committee, on a board that she's on.
So in that case, would someone else from Vic Geary have to, it's.
So when she presents her budget, she presents for all the nonprofits.
I understand that, but we also, as a town, once a nonprofit comes before us for 3 consecutive years, we don't have to have a representative from that organization come back to the town to ask for money.
Correct, but she presents that request to the budget committee, and it's within her budget.
Okay, so what do other towns do? I guess that's my next question. Because our town would not be the only one that would be facing an issue with an SB2 budget committee.
My guess would be that it may not be under that person's.
Maybe a different person.
A different person is presenting.
Oh, I see.
That's just, so
okay.
if that money fell under someone else's budget, then they would be asking for that money instead of the person who would be on that
Or we
board.
just have someone else represent Kingston on that committee. So, which I'm happy to do if we feel like it's a conflict of interest to have Marissa sit.
Well, I don't know
It's not a
I don't think a
conflict.
select board member should be
It's a
on there.
conflict, but, again, common sense here, people. We've got to, there's a person who is knowledgeable of it, wants to volunteer to do it, not for you to volunteer to do it with another project. And I guess my opinion on it would be, do it when she approaches the budget. She can identify herself and tell the people that, what the story is with it. If there's an issue with it, if the budget committee has an issue with it, they'd have to decide on it then. But again, it's just.
She also suggested she could recuse herself from any budgetary discussions at the center, and then she can still be a representative for Kingston. And she's the right person to do it because she knows all the contacts.
Right.
I agree with you 100%. I think anybody, especially a select board member, becoming part of that, the same thing. The exact same thing.
You're right.
We vote the budget for everybody.
We vote the budget for everybody, so.
that's true. Right.
I think, I don't have a problem with that either.
Okay, so should we have a motion to that effect? Okay, I'll entertain one at this time. Allow Human Services to join the board of the Vic Geary Center. Can I move motion?
I make that motion.
In a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right. Next item is the application for a prorated assessment for fire damage at 131 Main Street. I'm here to tell you, I'm still opposed to this, and I'll tell you why. Because our regulations state that as of April 1st of the current year, whatever's on your property is what you get taxed on. Now, that's not to say that next year, if there's no garage there, he doesn't get taxed on the garage, it doesn't exist. But it says, there's a note here that says, a reduction of value because in 2024, you're only gonna have 52 days of use. That doesn't cut it with me. We taxed based on what was on the property as of April 1st, and I don't see an abatement for 2023, 2024 at all. That's my opinion. Sorry for the loss, it's a terrible thing, but I don't know.
Okay. Probably I should have a better explanation from Katie, because she basically, and I've seen them before, it's kind of it's a formula that happens once you have the fire, where it takes off that value. You're only gonna be taxed for the days that it was in the use that it was meant for, so. And I know the timing is what the issue is, and I explained that to her, and she said, oh no, it's just, this is.
I've never
what
seen it
needs to
done.
be.
In 53 years here, I've never seen this done. So, just saying.
We had a
You
trailer that
guys-
burned.
You guys can do what you want. I don't think we should.
Well, we can get a better explanation if you don't feel comfortable signing it yet.
I think we get a better explanation myself.
Yeah.
Because I can kind of see it both sides. I'm not disagreeing with you, but I can see both sides of the hand. And I think if we ever have had this in the past, which it sounds like we possibly have, we kind of have to do the same thing.
So I just trying to understand the process. If you have a fire after April 1st and you lose your garage, is your property then reassessed because you had?
No.
Right, so it's kind of
It gets reassessed by April 1st the following year.
Right, but what you're saying is Katie says there's a formula to account for that, so
Because they only had the use of it in 2024 for 52 days.
Understood.
So, yeah.
But if I have a fire in July and I lose my garage, I've only had use for that for 6 months. So then is it then
Well, I think that's why it's called
recalculated?
a prorated assessment, and I think that's the key term there, and I don't understand it completely, so I don't want to over-explain, but she was very, very sure that at the proper time that needs to be signed, so.
Okay. Where's that thing on the- Yes, thank you. Okay, also, we have a letter of recommendation for Adam Faulkner, who is seeking employment as a teacher in a middle school, and he's asked the board for a recommendation, and with your permission, I'd like to read it, because he's a very able young man, and he's been a good member of the video team for the town. And it says, "To whom it may concern, Adam Faulkner is currently seeking employment in the education field. On behalf of the town of Kingston and the many people who have benefited from working with him, we would like to share his background with the town for your consideration. Adam has worked for the town in the capacity of audiovisual technician since 2018. In this role, he has worked with many different boards and committees, troubleshooting technical issues, helping with presentations, and assisting with the transition to new equipment. He is always courteous and respectful, while not afraid to interject his assistance when needed. Adam also manages the town's official Facebook page and the, quote, bulletin board, unquote, that appears on local TV. He is always accessible and works efficiently to see that notices are posted in a timely and appropriate manner. As past assistant to the Human Services Director and acting director during a brief vacancy, Adam proved himself able to handle sensitive information with discretion in this capacity. He also assisted with preparing and distributing food baskets, especially at Thanksgiving, and helping with the annual Giving Tree gifts. These holiday programs are quite extensive in Kingston and require many hours and attention to detail. Adam has been a great factor in their success. All in all, we feel that Adam's skills, experience, and personality will serve him well in an educational setting. We highly recommend him. And he's been a great guy, so I had to read that. You're quite welcome. Good luck.
Hey, Adam, the only condition is that you got to keep doing your video stuff. Oh, good.
I don't know if this is the appropriate time. Adam did have a question about a bulletin board submission, and he can bring it up during public comment if that's better, but as long as you're talking about Adam, he just had a brief question about a request from the school.
We'll wait to get on the
Yeah.
public comment. Okay. Next is the key and access code.
Barn easement deed.
Oh, sorry, my apologies. Oh, yeah, there's two of them. One for Russell Prescott and one for,
Those are the preservation easements that you.
Correct.
Yeah, already approved, but
we just need signatures.
I had to wait for the people to come in and sign, and now I just need your signature, Ally,
Yeah.
before I send them to
Yeah,
the registry.
and the other one for 23 Exeter Road. So we did already approve those. Okay, and now the key and access code policy. What's your pleasure, ladies and gentlemen?
Director Coombs can address the need for the policy, I suppose, and then we can just go from there on comments.
So I just wanted to give some back history on this. This policy was actually written 2 years ago. The best we can figure, it's been at least 8 years since any of the locks have been rekeyed on the town hall, and there are numerous people who did not return their keys. So why this came up was we had a meeting with SMP, the architecture firm that the town has retained for the town hall, and one of the key things that he brought up was physical security. Our insurance company has brought this up on numerous times where we need to have the doors closed, we need to physically secure the building, and the way it is keyed is certain keys are given to certain people. So if you're a committee chair that just needs access to the meeting room, there are keys that just open the main hallway of the town hall, and your alarm code only disarms the alarm for certain areas. In that time, we have rearranged all of the offices. So technically, the town clerk's office, they only have keys that open the town clerk's office. The selectman's office and building office should only have keys that open that side, and then ones that are master keys, then ones that are just for the main doors. So one anecdote on this is Rich St. Hilaire, when he passed away, we deactivated his code, and suddenly I had 7 people calling me and saying their code didn't work anymore. So they were all using his code. This hasn't been kept up on as it should be, and the problem with this is we have to respond to the alarm calls. When someone puts in the wrong code or tries to open, they get into the building because their key works, but they put in the wrong alarm code, me or one of the buildings and grounds guys have to respond. A lot of times the police don't have the time to respond because there's only one guy on duty or so. The other thing is people are getting keys made on their own, which is a big no-no. So what we need to do is rekey everything, and not just this building, but all the buildings, all the padlocks. There are numerous padlocks around town that people have access to. Some of those are in possession of former Kingston Days members who haven't been on the committee for 4 years, and these are opening things like the landfill or the state shed, or doors in those areas that they shouldn't be able to open. So basically, at this point in time, we have no idea who has keys to what. And the only answer is to rekey everything, but before we incur that massive expense and pain of doing that, we need to have a policy outlining how keys are issued, how they're tracked, and to keep this situation from perpetuating itself. So this was already, like I said, this was written 2 years ago or 2.5 years ago before I even came on board. It was submitted to the board with the intention of doing this very thing, and it just kind of fell by the wayside. So just in conjunction with the architect kind of going through and re-establishing areas, I felt this was the time to address this issue.
Any comments, questions? Mr. Doyle, I mean, there's public comment, but is this pertaining to the key access codes? Right.
So this is the first step in that. This is written for the current technology that we have, but I have been in discussions with our security provider about getting keypads similar to what the fire station has. That's the main reason the fire station is not included under this, is because they don't physically own keys. There is only the access codes to the building to get in that disarms the security system, and it tracks exactly who can go in there. It also allows the fire chief, who has physical security control of that building, to grant people access at certain times. But we are definitely not buying that system because that is way too expensive. But there are less Cadillac versions of that that would offer similar functionality that has become available since those were installed. But yes, that would be the long-term goal, and that would allow us, if there are certain, for example, the rec center, there are certain times that people need to get in there. That would allow Paul to remotely open the building for those people and disarm the security system, but not have them going in there at a time when they shouldn't.
Well, we can't do that now, though.
We absolutely cannot. He has to physically go and open the building or give out his code, or we have to make multiple codes for people to go in there. And it's just kind of a logistical nightmare for us to keep giving these out, and people leave or move out of town, or don't, they get mad and don't want to play pickleball anymore, and then we just have all these codes out there that are just floating around. And it's a large thing to keep track of.
The police have their own also?
Yes, so I have very limited access to that building just in case there is an emergency, but otherwise the chief handles all, he issues keys to his employees, codes to his employees. He deals directly with the security provider, and it's the same for the fire station, and by and large, it's the same for the library. There is, since we signed the memorandum of understanding, there has been kind of more commingling in that, but it's more just dealing from a technical perspective with the security provider more than anything else. She handles all the issuance of keys and codes for that building, because we don't.
So, for this building, at the moment, if you need an extra key or work done, that comes through you or somebody here in our building, as well the police, the fire, and the library.
So typically it's handled through Susan or Paula. But the problem we've had is people have left and turned in their key, and there are keys that are keyed for certain doors, and we don't know that those have been given to the right people. So there are people with master keys that should not have master keys that can get into any of the doors.
Can I help you with this problem a little bit? If you want to meet sometime, I can show you how to do it over at the school system. And it's a fraction of the cost, like
Yeah. Okay, but for the public at home, Mr. Doyle has offered the opportunity to Phil to discuss this and go over some of the practices, best practices at the school district, and that maybe eliminate some of the angst. I personally had no problem with the policy, with one exception. Normally it goes through Paula or Susan now, and then you have it as a backup, Paula. I'd say take them both out of there as backup, and either you do them or you don't. So it goes right through the highway department.
That was the initial proposal, but it was requested that we keep that in there.
It doesn't make sense. If neither Susan nor Paula can issue keys, then no one should turn them into them. So you go into the highway department and let the employees grumble if they want to. Because it makes sense to me, a little bit cleaner that way.
Yep.
Would you agree? Would you agree, Phil?
Yes, that would be much easier for us.
Okay. All right, gentlemen, ladies, do you want to adopt the policy? Do you want an opportunity to read it again? You didn't change it again today, right? Right?
No, I sent the copy this morning with addressing Paula's concerns and comments
Okay,
that have already been discussed.
okay.
The only, I'm just looking at it. 5.1 says, all keys are the property of the town of Kingston and are issued by the DPW. Well, the police department has their own, the fire doesn't have keys, and the library does their own.
So the beginning of the policy states it is not applicable to the fire station, police department, or Kingston Community Library.
So you're referring to anything else but those?
Right.
When I
Yes.
first read it, it says all, I assumed it was all.
Yes.
And I would imagine, as we incorporate keypads, the library would be part of that, and they would fall under this. But given the medical records that are in the fire station, and obviously the police station, their role, they need to be their own entities.
Okay.
So Phil, what's your ideas on, all these people that we're talking about, the mad pickleball players and the rec players and the town employees? What recourse are you gonna have to get the keys back?
So it's going to be working with Paul in that instance, the rec director, to make a more comprehensive policy, but incorporating this as the basis for it, that this is what the town says, when you get a key, this is what you have to sign. He's going to have to come up with the criteria on who should get a key there, but that will be brought back before the select board. As it sits right now in my research, the only person under the rec department who should have a key is the director and the camp director. Those are the only two people who should be given keys.
So why don't you, at this point, go change his lockout? If there's one lock and two keys, but you don't know who else has got keys at this point for like you say, the pickleball or whatever, why don't we just change that lockout, that one, and reissue the two keys, and then he can, from there,
So I think Paul has been actually going and opening the rec center whenever there's been pickleball events. And I think he had one other person who was not under that, which it's not a bad thing if that's the case. If he has a trusted person that comes and follows his policy, signs, and understands everything. The problem we're having is everybody's handing out the code. They don't know how to properly put it into the alarm, and it's tripping the alarm. So it's either taking the police or my guys at 7, 8 o'clock at night to go down there and turn the alarm off. And so even if it's 4 people from the rec department, we would just know who they are. They would have physically sign for them, know that their roles and responsibilities with the key, and then if there's an issue, we know who tripped it, and they could get additional training on the use of the alarm system.
Or remove the key from them.
Exactly. I mean, if they're abusing this, and this addresses that, if they're abusing the privilege, then we would remove that key from their possession.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, do we need a motion to adopt it?
Yeah, we've done
Okay,
this.
someone please move.
I make a motion to adopt the key and access code control policy with the noted exception of removing any references to HR and the
Or
select board
board.
assistant, right, from that. Yeah, it's a motion.
In a second. Okay, discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Ayes have it, motion carries. Done. And I don't want to see any policies until October.
I thought it was September last time.
I changed it, because now it's July. We can
Thank
go
you.
for November, I'm game. Thank you very much, thank you. Okay, we have public comment number 2. Anyone else like to, Pedro, would you like to add? I'm sorry, I've kept you waiting.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly fine. Yes, I wanted to, came in for the public comments and is in regards to the adoption of the 2021 building codes. Today, there was a lot of conversation with regards to that, and there was a lot of confusion with regards to the concurrency period on it, because the new House bill didn't have mentioned any concurrency period, and we were under the impression that today set the marks for adoption and enforcement. So I had a couple of meetings, state levels, and also communications throughout, and we are uncertain yet if the code were signed into law today by the governor. I know they have passed the Senate and the House under Senate Bill 437, and House Bill is 1059 that can be researchable. The code, what the code is moving to is the 2021 edition of the code with regards to the International Building Code, the International Existing Building Code, the International Mechanical Code, International Plumbing Code, International Residential Code, International Spa, Pool, and a Specialty Code. And we are going to stay in the 2018 International Energy Conservation Code, and we are going to remain in the 2020 National Electrical Code. So a lot of changes are taking place. We are staying in, yeah.
So we're staying with the 2018
International Energy Conservation Code,
Energy Conservation, and
which
the
is the IECC.
Okay, and then the
2020 National Electrical Code.
Okay, thank you.
NEC.
Okay.
As of right now, the information that we have is that all will be effective on July 1st, but we're yet to get confirmation on that, and we're getting clarification, although we received a final communication around 5 p.m. that under RSA 155-A:2, it remains a concurrency period of 6 months, granting a period of 6 months for people to become aware that the code has changed, pretty much. But again, there has been a lot of work in progress in regards to that today, because today was expected to be signed into law, and I wanted to come and voice out the public notice that, in effect, we're moving forward as the code has passed the Senate and the House, and it's just expecting signature from the governor on that matter. And I wanted to clarify to the town, as I have been questioned several times, whether or not the town has a need to do some sort of public hearing or adoption of the code. Per the information I got to the at state level, the town, cities, and municipality has no say into how the code is going to be enforced. The addition of the code, once it's signed into law, is a law. It's abided by the entire state. However, the town can make it more restrictive via amendments, and they have to be guided through the code review board at state level.
With these law changes, and there's a 6-month grace period, how does the state, being they're passing the laws, going to educate the contractors via every contractor, because they're plumbing and electrical and the whole thing? We're already having issues with what you're trying to tell them with what we have now. Now, a builder who's building decent houses and all that, and those that are in the know will know the laws, but the responsibility is for them to have been sent this information, I assume, by the state for every licensed contractor. I mean, how are they going to publicize this? How is it going to get out?
Usually what happens when you go to a town and pull a permit, the town will advise you what codes they're following. You need to know that. And if they're more stringent than the state codes, the town has to actually have that in writing. It's not like a verbal, hey, we're going to do this more stringent. They can be more stringent, but it has to be in writing from the town. So when they go in to pull a permit, they're gonna say, hey, listen, we're following XYZ code. And you need to know that as a contractor. And if you don't, you probably shouldn't be a contractor. Because they do change quite often, and we have to have code review every year. So we are instructed on what these are. So we know as a contractor what these new laws are.
Yeah, and I'm gonna start, I already started a campaign on my emails. Whenever I'm approaching any contractor, I'm making them aware that, to be aware that we are awaiting the institution of the final institution of the 2021 edition of the code, and that they are going to take place the moment it gets signed into law.
Do you think, you had suggested, do you think, from a local standpoint for our guys, do you think it's worth having a public hearing by us or by yourself to get this information out there? Whether the contractors, how many plumbers or electricians or whatever would show up, I don't know, but.
Well, we might be required to do a public hearing anyway before we adopt it. I'm not sure about that.
It is, the research that I found, no, the town has no saying on the building code. So once they are signed into law, it is a law. So we have, the entire state has to abide by it. I will be making the general public aware. We're gonna post notes. We might put it on our Facebook page, on our main website.
Could be a
so
simple
that-
handout too, when they come,
Yeah.
make out a permit application,
Yeah.
you hand them a piece of paper. This is
Yeah.
what we adopted the new state codes, this is what it is.
Now, the other thing is that I believe that in our zoning ordinance and codes, the book, we refer to
State.
what level of code we are at.
Yes.
And so, depending on, we might want to make sure and check that.
As a matter of fact, I delayed a meeting with Glenn Greenwood because I was expecting the adoption of the code, and I was revising the ordinance based on the 2018 code. We are already now in very extensive training for the 2021 changes, which are a lot. And I'll be then reviewing the zoning ordinance with regards to the 2021 during this couple of days off that we have, so that I can bring something to Glenn next week and sit down with him to go through the entire ordinance, because I know one of my favorite select women in the table that stated that they didn't want to have many changes to the zoning ordinance for October, and
as a moderator for many years, those ballots are, we had 27 items this year, it was huge.
but sadly, it's gonna be also long for the next one.
Okay.
That is, we have to come back to at least a standardized. I'm sorry.
It's okay, it's not your fault.
Okay, so you're going to be working with Glenn to identify
Yes.
the parts of the ordinance book that need to be modified.
Yes, we already started that process. I already started getting line items and making all the notes in the ordinance. And if you see my ordinance, it looks like a book full of tags and marks and things like that. Look, I'm getting ready for an exam.
That's good, that's good.
So we're working on that, and I wanted to take opportunity of this public hearing to start making mention of it and start putting the voice out there that we're changing to the 21 edition of the building code. Worth of note is that codes change every 3 years, and the state has made their mission to be one cycle behind the building codes, and that's what we are at right now. So we're exactly one cycle behind.
And just for the record, I mean, historically, this town has followed the state code. We have not
Right.
made it more stringent. Is that right?
There are a couple of things ordinance-wise that are substandard to the level of the code, and we're working on those.
Sure,
But the code has been the go-to guide in order to make sure that we are in compliance with things.
Yeah, and I think it's shoreline protection areas are the ones we're a little more stringent on than the state. Am I correct in that?
That is correct.
Oh, but I'm talking about the building codes.
Oh, Bill.
Yes.
I'm sorry, just the building codes.
Okay.
Yes. There are, like I said, there are a couple of things in the ordinance. One of them was sheds, but that is changing in the building code. Now we're gonna be more restrictive than the building code, because right now we have a non-permit requirement for sheds are 100 foot in footprint or less. The building code were at 60, now it's going up to 200, so.
So you said if we're more stringent, we have to, that has to go through a process and be approved.
That is
Like, we
correct,
don't just
so-
approve it at the
Yes.
town level.
No.
Yes, exactly.
Right, okay.
That's why I'm doing the whole
Okay.
review, because we have to, it's a two-tier process. So the first one has been the town, and that's why I'm meeting with Mr. Greenwood to talk what, at town level, this is what we have, this is the building code. We're matching this here and there, and these are more restrictive. If we're gonna keep them, we're gonna change them, then I have to prepare a paperwork and send it to state level so that it is known that we as a town are more restrictive in sections of the codes on the areas that pertain.
All right, thank you very much, Pedro,
You're
for
very
the
welcome.
update. Okay, a couple more items for your consideration. We've got a parade permit application.
So I have one thing under board business, just a status on what the website is, where we are on that. I don't know where we are on that.
What,
I did reach out to them several weeks ago because I hadn't heard anything, and they got our input, and they're still building the site, and then they'll work with us to implement it, but I'll ask again.
Yeah,
It's
so
taken
we
a
don't
while.
have like a time?
They told us it would be several months, but I think they've got to be getting near the end of it.
well, they gotta have some pieces of it done, right?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
It looks pretty shabby now.
yeah, well, it's got to be in place, and then they turn the whole thing.
right, understood. But are we gonna be able to test it? Like, are we gonna have people going on the site?
They will be training us on it, as I understand, but I'll contact them tomorrow and see where we stand.
Hopefully they built all that kind of stuff into the schedule. I
Hopefully.
Let's see
I
if we
haven't seen
picked it,
it,
we'll
but-
know if we picked the right company if they don't.
Exactly. I'm just wondering, yeah, where we are with that, because I haven't heard anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
All right, we ready to move on? Okay. We have. Okay, come on out.
Sorry, this shouldn't take but a moment. On Thursday, a request came in from the new business administrator for the school to have something posted on the board. And I have no strong feelings on this one way or the other, but the policy says municipal departments can request things be put on the bulletin board without going through the request process. Do we want to count the school under that category, or do we want the school to go through the, fill out a form and do all that?
Well, it depends, can we post on their site? And then we can mutually trade information, I think that would be appropriate.
As you
That's
like.
my personal opinion. Does that sound okay to my colleagues?
Yes.
Is a great
It's
idea.
a great idea.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Fair enough. That's all I needed. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments from the public before because we just got a few more things we need to.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Pedro. Next time you get on the first public comment, not the second one. Yeah, okay, we'll talk later. Parade permit. Well, we have parade permit, we have contra dance permit, and we have soccer camp permit. So, parade permit is,
I think we've done this one.
They do it every year, they run through town. and it's-
okay, yep, that's
I-
what it is, athletic event.
Nobody had any issues that I spoke to because they self-regulate, they're pretty well controlled. Yes.
Oh, this is the, oh, good, you do this every year.
Reach the beach.
All right, because the police chief hasn't signed off on it.
That's the important one.
Yeah, I talked to him, but I didn't get his signature, so.
Well, do you want to wait
You
until
wanna wait?
our department heads sign off before signing it, or?
All right,
When is the event?
Yeah.
it's usually in
September.
September.
Oh, okay, we got plenty of time.
Yeah. The
It's
next,
September, right, Pete?
I'm pretty sure.
I think so. Well, they go running right by the house. Yeah.
Okay, we have a request for contra dances here at the town hall. 6 to 11 p.m. in the second half of 2024, August, September, October, and December.
No.
Does it include instruction?
Yeah, yeah, you ought to try it. Yeah.
You can tap it.
Yeah, well.
No.
And it has been signed off by the department heads.
Okay,
They have reviewed it.
so do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
In a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
One abstention, thank you.
It is September, Glenn, the race.
Yes,
14th.
thank you.
Okay.
I thought so.
So we have that, and then this one is for soccer camp, use of the plains by the Congregational Church for 1 day.
That's fun, when?
We've done that before.
Yeah, this is another frequent, July 22nd. 1 day soccer.
I love watching that stuff out there.
Okay,
Is
do I
it-
have a
Is
motion?
it signed off by the department heads?
It is.
Is that a
In
motion?
a second? Further discussion? Okay, approved. All ayes have it. The only other thing I have was on Lone Tree. Do we have an update on that, or do we need to go non-public to get the legal review on that or not?
I copied the email that you got from the attorney, if you want to distribute that in non-public, or I wasn't sure. It was sent to you and to me.
Correct.
Yeah. So she just had a few questions. She had some
Then it needs to be
clarification.
it needs to be
Yeah,
a non-public.
so, yeah.
Okay, so before we do that, let's, we have a,
Minutes?
minutes to be approved, public or non-public.
Motion to approve the minutes of June 17 and June 24, public and non-public minutes.
In a second?
Second.
Corrections or amendments? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Ayes have it, carried unanimously.
Before you go.
Yep.
Two things. One, it looks like Susan just gave us an updated list on the American Rescue Plan Act.
Yep.
And with everything filled in, meaning that there's nothing else there looming other than the balance, which gives us an idea
Of
with
how
the
much?
with the bids, let alone what the balance is there, that, you know, there's room there. Hopefully,
Yeah.
we won't get too much into that. I mean, anyway, and the other thing I think Susan had made mention about 6-month evaluation
For Pedro.
for Pedro.
Yeah.
How do we want to, or what is your plan, I guess, I don't know.
Well, I really hadn't given a plan, but I would assume that the interview committee with Peter, because Peter is his liaison, and who else was on the interview committee?
It's Lori and me and Glenn Greenwood.
And then Phil and Graham.
Glenn Graham.
Okay, we don't need select board members.
So I'm his liaison, but I wasn't on his interview.
That's all right, doesn't matter,
Okay, I'm sorry, you just-
I was trying to look to see who was on that.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Okay, so you and Peter would get together with Pedro to do the 6-month review, okay? Beautiful.
Just to get it over, it's there, it's ready to be
No,
done.
I'm glad you brought that up, that's a good
It
point.
should happen, right, it should happen.
Officer position, we do have 2 applications, and I want to know how you want to handle those. If you want one select board member with Pedro to do a pre-interview and then bring back a recommendation, there's only 2, but it's been a while, and that's all we've got.
Did we have a deadline on that, Susan, and that's been?
I think it was open until filled, I'll have to check that, but
I would volunteer for that.
If you would look into with Pedro, see if either Ken is worthy, then it'd be great, so that we can move that
I
on.
just know that's kind of urgent for him to get some help down there.
Yeah, he
so.
needs some help, absolutely, so
I'll
if you
try to
would,
get one before tomorrow.
soon.
If not tomorrow, it'll be next Tuesday.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, great.
Yeah, because the town hall is closed Thursday and Friday this week.
I'm closed too.
I think a lot of us are shut down for the weekend, a long
I
weekend.
think,
Well, and if you can get with them tomorrow, maybe.
I'll give him a call tomorrow.
Well, and maybe then the individuals can be scheduled in for a time sometime after the holiday.
Right.
I'll get the applications to you.
Anything else? Non-public?
Just one thing, Ellie.
Okay.
Sorry. No,
Wasn't me.
Not this time.
I'm sitting here thinking of something I can ask, but I don't have anything.
It's related to a piece of business that we've already dealt with, and
Yeah.
and I was filling it out and realized that there's a missing piece, and it's regards to the inspection station license.
Yeah.
There's a part of the application that the applicant did not fill out.
Oh,
And they have the owner of the business and the address of the business, but it needs the property owner's name and address, and we don't have that. So, I would recommend that we do not sign it until we have that. I've filled the rest of it out, so it's
Okay.
all set to go.
all right. This is your pile over here, Susan, just,
I've pointed out on there what's missing. It's the
no, you have to
information,
look at it.
property owner's
Name and
name and
address.
address. If it's the same as, but, well, they're not living there, though, I don't think, because that's not a residence.
No,
So their address is someplace else.
well,
Owner's address.
Yes.
yes.
Yep.
I know they're anxious because they want to get the business open, and planning board, and we don't meet for another 2 weeks. So, yeah, I don't have a problem coming
And
back.
they advertise July 1st.
Well, the doors are open today,
Yeah.
so.
Just another little weird thing about that, and just, we don't really gotta talk about it a lot, but I remember on the planning board, it's quite an issue actually to look at the town tax map. Starting at the library, to the dance studio, to Berubis, to the garage, to Dagnalds, across to Raymond's,
Yeah,
back to that red building where the chiropractor is and the Christie building.
yeah,
Those are all special exemption commercial properties.
because they're in the historic district too.
And they're in that single-family residential.
Correct.
So those buildings on both sides of the road are actually classified differently than single-family
Anywhere else,
residential,
right.
anywhere else. It's a very weird zone right there.
Church Street.
Well, that's what it is on those
It's actually
buildings.
not the historic district.
It's not.
It's
Some
not,
of it
because it's beyond.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beyond.
Oh, he's
That's-
beyond, but not all of Church Street is beyond.
Oh, no, not all.
No, just look, but those buildings that go up, and I remember it went from Dagnall Sports Shop.
Yeah, yeah.
Over to Paul Raymond's.
Yeah.
Then back to the plaza.
Yeah.
Both sides of the road, those are actually like a special zone property. It's actually listed on the town maps, that tax map. In those exact addresses, they actually point them right out. They're listed.
Okay. All right. at this-
Anyway, Susan, once you've got that information, the chair can sign it, because it's all filled out.
Okay. A motion to go into non-public receive information from attorney.
So moved.
And a second? Second. And a roll call vote. Peter? Yes. Chuck?
Yes.
Me, yes. Glenn?
Yes?
And Laurie, yeah. Good night, gentlemen.
Susan,
And Amy, Stacy.
if you would be able to locate the particular RSA section so that we note that correctly, because the motion didn't include, right, whatever it is.